couple of people have asked me about different ways to solve the homework and online calculators to use or what kind of calculator to use on your computer or a physical calculator. So I wanted to put together a couple of short videos to show you how to use Excel to do homework problems and quiz problems. I like to use Excel for things I do at work. And when I was a student, I used to use it for homework too, and I find it to be really helpful for at least a couple of reasons. And one of those reasons is that you can break up your problems into different steps, and you can lay them out in the rows in the spreadsheet that you see here, as if they just as if you were doing it on paper and sort of showing your steps. So if first you're supposed to calculate the numerator for a problem and then calculate the denominator and put it all together, you could set up the calculation for the numerator here and then the denominator, and then for the final solution you could divide the numerator, which would probably be in cell B1, by the denominator in cell B2. Okay, so we'll show you examples like that, but let me show you how some of the basic things in Excel work, just to get you started. Okay, it all starts with once you're in a cell in Excel, pressing the equals key, and that tells Excel that you want what's going to be in that cell to be a formula. So instead of just regular text, it's going to calculate whatever mathematical expression you have in that cell. And so, for example, for addition, if we wanted to do 1 plus 1, we just type in 1 plus 1, and it would automatically calculate that to 2. Okay, and that's not such a big deal. 1 plus 2 is 3, or 456 plus 923 is 1379. Okay, it just makes those calculations pretty easy. Same thing for subtraction. If we typed 10 minus 9, it displays 1. Multiplication is a little bit different than you might do it by hand, but I think we've used this expression in text online or in emails. Instead of an x like you might write for times, you do the asterisk. 3 times 2 is 6. So again, small numbers might not be that tough, but what if it was a big number? Well, that's a lot easier than working that out by hand on paper. And then it stays there. That's the other nice thing. It's there if we need to go back to it for another formula. Division. There's no division sign like there might be on your calculator, like you're used to. So we just use the forward slash. So if I do 10 divided by 2, that's 5. Okay. Exponents. 3, always have to start with equals 3, and then use the caret that's above the 6, and whatever power you want to raise 3 to. So 3 squared is 9. 2 squared is 4. 2 to the third is 8. Square root's a little bit different. You can just type SQRT and the number that you want. So square root of 4. Actually, you may have to put this in a, let's see, yeah. You have to put this in parentheses. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 9 is 3. And this is actually a good place to talk to you about not just calculations, but formulas, more advanced formulas. So you notice that when I wrote SQRT, it sort of gave me a little pop-up help here. The minute I type equal and then a letter, it shows me all the different functions. A little f of x there shows me all the different functions that start with s that I can do in a cell. And it even gives me a definition here. So the search function returns the number of the character at which a specific character or text string is first found. Now, this might start to sound a little advanced and abstract, and it is, because you can actually do a lot of data analysis and text manipulation in Excel. So we could go down and see all the different things that we can do, but the one we really wanted to do here was square root. And that returns the square root of a number. So SQRT, and then with most formulas, or functions rather, maybe all of them actually, you have to include something in parentheses. So the function is the first part, the SQRT, and then what you're going to operate on the function goes within the parentheses. And in this case, it tells me that I need to put in a number. So like we did before, if let's say I want the square root of 9, because that's an easy one to remember, to make sure I did it right, and that's 3. Or what if I did 8? It'll even give me that. It doesn't have to be a easy to remember whole number square root. If you do something wrong, let's see if this will give me the error. It pretty much tells you that you did something wrong. Yeah, it'll do something like that. And you might get different errors, but that's if you see something that equals name question mark, it's not sure what's going on, and you'll get this little box to the side. The formula contains unrecognized text. You can click on that, and it'll give you some help. Show you if it's a complex formula. These formulas can get to be multiple steps if you're referencing different cells, and so you could actually walk through the calculation steps, but we don't need to deal with that right now. So let's go back, put a real square root here. Oops, equals SQRT9. But if you see an error or that name question mark, it's probably because you didn't put it in parentheses. So the last one I want to show you for this video is the order of operations. So what if we have something where we're first supposed to, we have some sort of complex calculation in the numerator and the denominator. So let's say this is a larger equation or a larger calculation where in the numerator it's 10 divided by 2, and in the denominator it's actually 10 divided by, it's 3 times 4, just to start. Notice how I set that up. I put the parentheses around each piece. So it's going to calculate the 10 over 2, and then it's going to calculate the 3 times 4, and then it's going to divide. And we know that those orders of operations can be really important for a lot of formulas, and we see a lot of things like that in statistics. We've got some complex thing in the numerator, some complex thing in the denominator, and we need to do one and then the other and divide. And if we tried to take this out of order, let's see what would happen if I just took out the parentheses. Oops. So you can see that Excel has a neat little function where once you get to one parentheses, like the opening parentheses here, it highlights the closed one for you, which here doesn't help us all that much, but if you had multiple embedded parentheses because of a number of calculation steps, it's actually pretty helpful. Let me take that one out. So now instead of doing the numerator and then the denominator and then dividing one by the other, it's going to do 10 divided by 2 divided by 3 times 4, which gives us the wrong answer in this case. So when you need to handle things that have specific orders of operation, you need to use parentheses, just like they may be represented in the book that way, or they may just be, a numerator and a denominator, which by default, sort of has parentheses around it if there's a complex calculation. And you can do parentheses within parentheses. So let's say instead of uh, 3 times 4, this was really 3 times 4 divided by 2. You can make that its own little sub thing. So it's going to go to the innermost parentheses first. And it's going to see 4 divided by 2, then multiply that by 3, and then divide that by, oh, whoops, I've got something on the top. Let me do the 10 divided by 2, and then divide 10 divided by 2 by whatever was in the denominator. So that's a nice little trick. So I hope this was a helpful way to get started with Excel. There's lots of things you can Google online. There's just so many different Excel resources. There are a few good sites. I got to say, I don't have one site that I go to in particular. There is a popular site called Mr. Excel, but if you Google, multiplication in Excel, or even some statistical formulas, if you Google, how to calculate a mean in Excel, how to do a standard deviation in Excel, you'll find all kinds of results. Hope it's helpful.